Hello and welcome to Plate Stack Chat. Once again, this should be going live on Instagram, but it doesn't seem to be working just yet. So, there we go. So now it's live there as well. Apart from that little new thing, everything else is the same. I'm still Jason. This is still the show where I bring on a wonderful guest to have a fun chat. And this is still a show that is supported by our good friends over at Strivey. If you do any kind of online coaching, programming, check them out. They've got a wonderful interface and they can make your life easier. So today we have another wonderful guest. They have been in and around the world of Grid League for almost 10 years, which might explain why they are always one of the best dressed on the grid, and also the United Grid League's Coach of the Year 2025. From the Palm Beach Breakers, please welcome Matt Hornaday.
What's going on, Jason?
I'm good, Matt. I mean, I'm a little disappointed. I'm going to say it because I like that you're wearing a Breakers t-shirt. It's very on brand. I have my Breakers tie that was kindly bought for me by one of your players.
Love that.
But when I see you on the grid, I mean, you are one of the smartest dressed, snazziest looking people out there, you know, and I love that. And I loved it at the championship matches, the playoffs and the championships, when you were there with your, I want to say, nephew.
My nephew. Yep.
And he was also like decked out in a suit and trying to look like his uncle, which I thought was great. So,
he said he wanted to be like his Uncle Matt. And so I was like, all right, bet, let's do it. Brought him on the sidelines. I told him that was the rule. And so he abided by the rule. So he definitely had to come on the sidelines with us.
Yeah, I love that's the rule. If you want to come on the side, you got to dress like this. And then he looks out at all the other coaches and he's like, hold on. What's with this rule?
No. Matt Evans.
Okay. Sorry. He's also, Breakers. The Breakers are setting a very good standard. This is going to get me in trouble with every other team in the league. The Breakers look wonderful. Fico's got some great t-shirts. They're very good. They're very funny, some of them. And he did kindly put a jacket on when he came on the show, but
Yeah.
But I feel it's the broadcast team that are, the ones that look was the.
I'll tell you this: the idea of dressing more professionally was 100% Matt Evans, and as we talked about how we were going to just evolve this team. That was one of the things that we wanted to do as well. And so I was like, all right, I like that idea. Let's go with it. And so we put it in place. Now it's to get that sponsor. So if State and Liberty ever hears this, I'm just saying, you guys are an Ann Arbor based company. I'm an Ann Arbor boy. Like, let's link it up together. But shameless plug. I'll be done after that.
Yeah. And if you want to send something overseas, then, I'm here and I'm always dressed well, even on a show like this. So, no, it's good. I do like it. I feel like the Grid League had a big influence on me dressing more like this as well. Watching them, it was like, okay, I think it was the first time I sort of saw, Cassie and that really dressed like super smart for a broadcast. And I thought, that looks good. Like, looks very professional, very good. It was that, and not this year, but the previous year at the Rogue Invitational, where I'd pre-book interviews with the athletes, but then I had to like wait at the finish line to try and call them over. And while you're there, you're surrounded by, 50, 100 screaming people also calling for their attention. And I was like, oh, we're all dressed the same. We all look like I could just be one of the people in the audience. So I thought, I need to make sure when I'm at an event, you can tell that I'm doing something there. I'm not there just to spectate. So yeah, there you go.
I feel like that Breakers tie should be worn at every single event for you then, because like it'd be a great signage, great standout piece.
I've got another tie that's got little barbells on it, and I think that's like again very sort of. And I did. Do you know what's funny? Is that I found ties that had like, there was ties with little lions on, and there was one with like little anchors and little sharks, and I was like, oh, I could have all these different ties for each of the teams, and then I'll change my ties when I'm there. And the one tie, I just could not find a decent tie that had waves. Like there just weren't any. And the only ones I found were like super expensive, or like shipping the times were going to be crazy. And I was like, if I can't do it for everyone, I won't do it for anyone. And then Shay bought me a tie. I was like, Well, you get it. And I wore it just like before the matches started, and I upset a lot of people. Because I'm like, oh, you can't be. Anyway, Matt, we're not here to talk about me or ties. We're here to talk about you. How are you, by the way?
Good. I'm good,
Yeah.
man. It's been a pretty good off season, and it's crazy just even thinking about this with the sport, like how far along we are this year compared to where we've ever been in the past. And not just us from a team, but like literally the whole league.
Yeah.
There's so much work that's being done in the back end right now that like keeping up with it's a lot. Because it used to be like, okay, season's over, you get a couple months of a break and you get rocking and rolling, like 6 months down the road with your new team. And not even close to the case now. The first time ever we had like an early signing period. And so like it's almost nonstop. Like granted, we're not practicing or anything like that right now, but outside of that, it's almost nonstop.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I have questions. So I kind of I was thinking about this and having a chat with you, and I'm like, okay, there's sort of 3 periods I want to talk about, because there is the Breakers a few years ago, the Breakers, of this season that's just finished, and now there's, next season's Breakers. So obviously I'm very curious about next season's Breakers. I'm very impressed with this season's Breakers. The previous years, we got to talk about this quickly.
Not as impressed, huh?
Well, I feel like I was tricked. I'll be honest with you. Because Kaylee Walsh got me into Grid League. So it was her fault. And she was on the Breakers, right? So it's like, okay, if you're going to watch Grid League, you got to pick a team. And I'm the person that's introduced you to Grid League. So guess which team you've got. So, okay, no problem. I'll cheer on the Breakers. And then I learn that they never win, or that they can only beat the Venoms. And I was like, guys, what's going on? But, there I was with my homemade merch. So this season, it was very nice to see a change. But I'm kind of curious, because for me, it's I can joke about it because I had no skin in the game at all. So I'm the other side of the world watching it and going, oh, what a shame they never win. But this is your team, you're living it. How did you kind of, I guess, or why did you keep going? If the team's not working, you're just not finding the success you want. Obviously, this year you've made some big changes, but the previous years, kind of what kept you just moving along, like thinking, maybe this year something will change or we'll do it. I got kind of intrigued into the mindset there.
I'm not a quitter. I mean,
not a quitter.
It's no. It's okay. So, to give you the background behind that, I'm a huge Detroit Lions fan, and I know that may not mean a ton for you, but in the States, the Lions have historically been one of the worst teams in the NFL, right? And the big thing, I watched every single game of their 0-16 when they didn't win one game throughout the whole year. And they were the first team in the NFL to ever do that. And I watched every single one of those games in hopes that something would turn around, right? So when I even think about my experience with the Breakers, it's the same thing. It's like that old kid, like the kid in me that was a fan of the Lions and watched where they started out at and seeing where they're at now. I mean, a lot of what I've looked at has been some of the stuff that Dan Campbell has done as a coach, and seeing what he's done to turn that organization around. And we've been looking to do the same thing. So like, that would be the reason why I didn't quit. To give you a little bit of history around the Palm Beach organization, we weren't always a losing organization, right? So the very first year of Grid, the Palm Beach organization went undefeated in the regular season, went to the championship, and lost by 1 point in the championship to the Tampa Bay Brigade, right?
Right.
They got that year, I was not involved with the team, but they got coach of the year, co-coach of the year, the 2 coaches. So Eric Cardona was one coach, and then I am completely, oh man, I did not want to call myself out on that one, and I completely forgot her name right now. Wow. Let's skip that
Oh.
part. We'll come back to that. But anyway, somebody's going to kill me for that. So I apologize in advance. I'm just having a brain fart on that one. But anyway, so we had the 2 coaches of the year, right? And then what ended up happening is Eric ended up going over and playing for the Lions the next season. I got involved with this team. We had our coach. We had obviously a rock star team. A lot of those athletes, almost 99% of those athletes did not come back. And so the first year was a cluster compared to what we had planned it to be. And then it had been trying to figure out how do we build the roster and rebuild the brand since then. And so like we had one against the Pompano Pulse, who were in the league at one point in time as well. And then eventually we merged with the Pompano Pulse to make the Palm Beach Breakers. Right. And then from there, we went down the spiral of the Palm Beach Breakers trying to still find their footing in the league. And, the massive changes really it started, I'd say not last season, but the season before. Okay. It was the initial phase. And what it was really establishing the foundation of the people that were going to be part of this organization. And we had some really good pieces that had been there in the past. And then we added some more pieces that aligned with what we needed from a team perspective. And then going into this past year, we kept that same core and then kept the values that we saw in that core and added other people that also had those values. And so it was a whole different mindset from a team dynamic and a team perspective. And then obviously keeping the talent that we had plus adding additional talent put us in a position to be way better than we had been in the past.
Yeah. And it almost doesn't make sense like on paper, because a lot of the talent that you added came from the Venoms. Quite a few of your players came from the Venoms, which in the lead up to this was the only team you were able to beat. So it's kind of, it feels odd that you're like, oh, the team we can beat, we can take some of their players. And suddenly merging these two, there was just this completely different team on the floor that got to the playoffs, that had an incredible season. So it feels weird when you think about it, but it clearly worked. You've mentioned quite a bit about the kind of the mindset and the values, and I've spoken to a lot of your players over the season and previous seasons, and that's something that does keep coming back up. And obviously, the kind of the unique nature of Grid, one of the things they like to promote is the fact that it is co-ed teams, and that you all kind of have your roles to play, but you're working together. So how big a piece of the puzzle then is it to make sure that you've got this team that gels, that mindset is, that you're all on the same page kind of at all the time?
That's the biggest piece. It's more important than the talent level. Like if you have a team that's committed and they are all aligned to one goal and working towards that goal, like it's so much better than just and this was one of the things that I told our leadership organization as we were going into the 2025 season, is that I'll take a B-level athlete, right, with the A mindset that we're looking for any day of the week over the A-level athlete with a B-level mindset or even a C-level mindset, right? And so that was that was a big question as we were talking to people and bringing them into this organization to make sure that they were going to be committed and do what it takes to propel us to that next level. Yeah. Right. And so even like when we think about sometimes like when we think about even the players that switched over, right? So we got 3 athletes from the Venom from the past season. One was a rookie, 2 were athletes that were veterans in the league and had won championships with another team with the Miami Freaks back in the past, right?
Yeah.
And we talked to each one of them, plus obviously all the other athletes that we added as well, and just made sure that we could align from a values perspective and we had the same mindset and the same goal, and everybody did, right? And so sometimes it's just just a change of scenery, right? A change of a team can shift it the way that you need it to be to get like the best out of the players, right? And I think we did a pretty good job of that, just as a whole team. And when I say the whole team, I don't just mean myself. I literally mean the athletes on the team
Mhm.
were a major piece of that as well.
Yeah. I mean, how easy is that to assess? Because, you know, when you're saying like you'd rather take, you know, someone who's got A-level mindset, even if they're a B-level athlete. The ranking the athlete part is, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier, right? Because you've got the grid trials, you've got, you know, numbers. You can just, you know, what's your 1 rep max of this? What's your, you know, time on there? I mean, one of the classic things I hear from every team is, you know, kind of the group chat and just everybody posting their times and being told, you know, do it faster, do it faster, do it faster. So that's all very measurable metrics. You can, you know, I know how long it takes this person to do 10 burpees over the line. I know how long it takes this person to do, you know, 3 clean and jerks or 3 clusters or whatever it is. You've kind of got that data, so you can kind of rank them as an athlete. But the mindset side and kind of their attitude, because I feel like some people are also very good at talking the talk. So even if it's just like, you know, we have a chat before we sign anyone up or an interview, and I think someone could come in and really kind of blow you away with how much of a team player they are and how they, you know, it's about the team and not about me and this and that. But then when it comes down to it, when it's on the line, you know, their true colors come out. So how have you got like a process you've kind of not necessarily put people through, but that you use to, you know, litmus test that a little bit and just make sure that, okay, they've got, because clearly, you know, the team you have did, you know, they gelled together incredibly well. But I'm just curious if there's some secrets behind how you kind of made sure that happened.
Well, couple of things, right? The first thing was obviously all the conversations that we had. So we interviewed every single athlete, myself and Matt Evans, before we would sign anybody, right? And so, I mean, we spent some of the athletes I mean, I don't think there was one conversation that we had that was less than an hour, right? And typically it was more than one conversation. And so we did a pretty good job of really understanding, and Matt's a really good, like he has a really good comprehension and understanding of people, right? And so it's good to have both of us in that meeting, because then our recap afterwards, it's like, okay, did you hear this? They said this. Yeah. Okay. So like, this is what I thought they meant when they were saying X, Y, Z, right? And this is why I asked the follow-up question for that. Okay, gotcha. Right. And so like that was actually really good to have two people in those conversations so we could bounce ideas back and forth off of each other. And so that was one thing that we did. In addition to that, when we looked at some of the athletes that we were between the athletes that we signed that were rookies and then the athletes that we brought onto the team, the biggest piece that showed me that this was different was all of those athletes coming from where, like, obviously the athletes that were part of the Venom were in Florida, and they drove all the way from Florida to Alabama for our first tryout, right? These are veterans in the league at this point. Like, I mean, Dylan had his first year in the league, and then JoJo and Alyssa had been in the league for several years already. So like, they don't, when you've shown what you could do on the grid, you don't need to try out, you know, like you don't, it's very rare that those athletes go to a tryout or even a combine. Right. And they were there and went out of state for that. That was another piece that I was just like, okay, this is drastically different. When you have veterans that are doing that, when you have your leaders on the team, like Vita came all the way, like there was obviously, she had already signed. She was strength specialist the year prior. Right. Like if there was anybody else who had to be like, Matt, I'm not coming, she could have easily said that. And instead of saying that, she calls me and is like, Matt, I want to be there. Like, I'm going to make it. And that was when we knew that everything was going to be drastically different. And so there was a little, like, obviously the conversations were very important in making sure that people were in line with what we were expecting. And then it was the actually putting it to practice. And so many people put it to practice so early in the season. Again, that was January, right? And our season didn't start until May. And we had people that committed to moving forward and doing what we needed to do.
I mean, I do want to ask, and then I'll get back to this, if, without naming names or even percentages, but were there people that you did turn away because you were like, great athlete, but the mindset's just not there?
I would say more of people we wouldn't pursue.
Cool.
Yeah, it is more of it, right? Because one of the things that we do is we always talk as an organization, and we're like, hey, okay, what needs do we have? And we'll identify like, okay, these are the needs. And we look through, are there people that, either previously played in the league or somebody else that we might be able to find that could fit. And there's people that never played in the league that we were interested in and we reached out to and we started talking with, but you can also find that out pretty quickly if they're going to fit and align with what you need from those athletes as well, based on their level of communication, right? Yeah. It's a situation where like, if it's not important enough for you to respond and we have to chase you down for certain responses, like how hard is it going to be to get that person to actually submit a video showing that they actually did the work that they're supposed to be doing in the match? Like, yeah, we don't have time for that. So, I'm trying to think if there was somebody we specific. Well, no, there are people that we had to turn down. Not always from a mindset. Sometimes it was just like where they were at from a skill set perspective. And like they could be, there was one person that we saw that was very like phenomenal athlete in a specific subgroup, right? Right. And if we had the space, we would have signed that athlete to the team. And then that athlete was also somebody that could end up developing and becoming a pretty good athlete in the sport. But we ended up being full, and it wouldn't have made sense for us to sign that person at that point in time. But it's somebody we still keep our eyes on, and if there is an opportunity, we would do something like that. But so that would be one person that we had to turn down. But usually a lot of that for the fit of the team. A lot of it has been like, we always try to do some background before we start talking to the athletes and determine, okay, is this a good fit or not? And then if there's somebody else that knows them well and can vouch for them, then we explore it a little bit more, right? Because we need somebody to debunk like our feelings for that person and explain why they could be a fit.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose in this case, you're quite fortunate that it's, I mean, like the CrossFit community is quite, I don't know, I was going to say small, but you know what I mean? Like people know if somebody is competitive within CrossFit in a certain part of the world, generally you all know each other, right? Like you see them at different competitions. And then it's sort of similar for the other niches that you're bringing in, if somebody's doing kind of their local strongman competitions, or if they're, involved in, I mean, even the gymnasts that you get on are usually kind of doing CrossFit as well, right? That's sort of how they kind of get into grid. But in the case that, it probably doesn't take too many phone calls to be like, does anybody know this person? Oh yeah, I've been at 5 competitions with them. They're screaming at the judge because they weren't happy with some of the reps they got. They were rude to the stuff. And you're like, okay, yeah, I've got it. We won't chase that one down then. Yeah, that makes sense. No, I suppose it's still, you're not getting your door knocked down with people begging to play grid. Like it's still kind of, you are suggesting the idea of, hey, have you heard about grid? Do you know grid? We think you'd be a really good fit. This is why. So I've got to keep that. I've got to keep reminding myself that that's still not everyone is solved yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there, right?
We're working on it. I mean, we do have a good amount of people that submit through the grid trials, right? And so there is a good pool of people that are out there saying like, hey, I'm interested in playing. But a lot of what we do is us going out and searching for those people ourselves.
Okay. So we'll put the past to bed. That's, the old breakers. We don't need to talk about that. Now I've understood what happened. You basically had your team stolen. That's fine. That makes sense. Well, not your team. It wasn't your team at the time, but
it's not. And not stolen because they all like, I don't even think, I'm trying to think back. I don't think any of those athletes, most of those athletes didn't even play in the league anymore. Yeah. The ones that did ended up playing for us, there was nobody that left that organization and went and played for somebody else. But yeah.
Well, apart from Cardona, you said Cardona was the coach.
Well, he was a coach. Yeah. He wasn't playing back then.
He wasn't playing.
No, he didn't play that year. He played the year after.
I can't imagine him not playing. That's
right. I can't imagine them having him on the team and and him not playing. That's crazy.
That is mad. And I mean, and now he's an owner, like a co-owner. But this guy, he's just going full circle in his grid world. Who knows?
He played in the MPGL, right? Got coach of the year in the first year of the FGL, and then was an athlete. I'm pretty sure he's won awards as bodyweight specialist of the year, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if not. And now he's a coach, and now he's an owner.
Oh, no. Yeah, there we go. Well,
Yeah.
Nobody asked me if I wanted to buy into the team, but you know, I don't know why. I mean, I'm tempted to ask. Yeah, why not? I've got you here. So you've talked about how so much of the season is already, you know, the next season you're already having meetings, stuff's already happening, things are moving ahead. Now you can just say, well, I can't talk about that, or you can, you know, give me some hints, or you can tell me who I need to talk to. Should we be waiting for announcements about, I don't know, changes in the structure of the season, maybe potentially another team that we haven't heard about yet, anything like that? Because, you know, I'm doing the maths on what I know at the moment, and it does not add up to how the season is going to work. It cannot work the same way it worked last year.
Yeah.
So something's got to change.
So
and
what I can tell you is that either way, the structure is going to change a little bit, right? The goal obviously is it makes the most sense for us to have 10 teams in the league. And obviously from the league's perspective, they want to do the same thing that we do from a team perspective and make sure that any organization they bring in is going to be a good fit for us, right? And there's still more than enough time. Like I said, in the past, we, like, even last year when we started in January, that was early, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's still more than enough time for a team to finalize their roster and come in and still be able to be competitive. And so I'll leave that part at that.
Yeah. And I will say that is debatable as to whether there is enough time, because I'm seeing other teams like posting up their signings. I'm thinking, well, these are some interesting teams, some strong teams. I mean, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's I don't want to say like recency bias, but it's kind of, you see what the Wolves are doing and like how early they began. They're like, we're going to be a new team next season, and we're going to be at every match this season to talk about next season. And then as soon as we're allowed, we're going to start getting players, announcing players. And so I suppose, like, in contrast, if a team comes along now and they're like, oh, we're going to be a new team, you feel like, oh, guys, you've got like a lot, because you've you know, all the other teams have an established roster that they're going to then re-sign a percentage of, and those they can't re-sign for, you know, various reasons. They're kind of like looking now to fill specific holes that they know, and then they also know, you know, who potentially could be a good fit within the, you know, greater grid world, from retired players, from up and coming players, from players that didn't re-sign with their team. You know, I feel it's easier for you in that situation.
So
building a new team is crazy. What are you going to say?
I'll give you an example of somebody, right? Let's just say hypothetically that Rich Froning decided to own a team. He's got a pool of athletes, right, that he already has, that he trains or train under him, whatever. He could do it pretty decently. And he's got experience in the sport as well. And so just saying.
So I should be looking at training camps, basically, is what I'm being told here, or brands, those that have access to it. Yeah. All right, I'm with you. Okay.
Just saying, there's definitely a way to make them extremely competitive right off the bat. So, yeah.
There we go. All right, man. I saw Rich Froning like last month. I should have asked him if I'd known. That would have been my question. If we'd had this conversation in advance, that would have been the one question I asked him. It's like, according to Matt Hornaday, you're starting a grid team.
That's what he'd be like, who?
You know, Matt, probably sold you a house. You don't know him? Oh, unbelievable.
Everybody's been asking for the nitty gritty details, and that's the drop. No, I'm joking. I know absolutely nothing about that. If it happens, that would be super sweet. But
yeah,
I don't know.
No, but I mean it. Okay, yeah, it sort of lines up with something I'd heard a little while ago through one of my sources, and so I can, all right, okay, puzzle pieces are falling into place, at least for me. Very cryptic. Well, you know, I've been asking. The problem is I've been asking everyone this question, and most of the time I'm talking to players, and they don't know anything. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So I was like, a coach. He might know something. But let's put aside that. Let's talk about the Breakers, 2026 Breakers. I've seen a huge number re-signed, so that's good. That means they're happy. Even players that told me, I don't know, because as much as I'd like to, I've got a lot going on in my life next year, and then I see they re-sign anyway. So I was like, okay, never mind. Should we be waiting for any announcements of new signings? Is there,
Yeah,
are we
there's more coming.
yeah?
There's more
How
coming.
close are we to getting names and faces?
Once we have the dates finalized, I think that's when you're gonna see a bigger wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a couple athletes that are literally just waiting for the dates.
Okay. Rookie athletes or people we might recognize?
Yes.
So both.
Yeah.
Neither.
No, it's there's athletes that you might recognize. There's some deep dives in there. And yeah, it would definitely be some good it would be really cool for the sport. Yeah.
What so I spoke with Josh, obviously super analytical, looks at everything, and runs the numbers on it. I'm curious from your point of view as a coach, when you're now having to sign some additional players, whether that's due to people not coming back or just trying to strengthen the roster. Did you have some very specific sort of I don't want to say holes, because there weren't necessarily holes within the team, but obviously you're not, it's not just like, oh yeah, you're pretty good, oh we could use you here or we could use you there. Were you actively searching to fill specific roles? And if so, what were the roles that you kind of felt maybe needed bolstering from last season to this season?
Yeah. So when it comes down to that, like obviously we didn't win the championship, so there were some holes regardless, right? And I'd be surprised if every team doesn't feel that they have some variation of a hole, right? And so we definitely look into that. We wanted to add in a couple of pieces, and some of that part. So that part I won't be very detailed on because that will obviously
reveal too much
for people. Yeah, a little bit. But there were some pieces that we 100% wanted to add to, and that's lining up to happen. So some of the holes that we had, and there's other ones that will come up, right? That there's still stuff that we do need to fill, and we're working on that one too. But we have some good potentials to fill all the holes that are in our position right now.
Yeah. I mean, and you're right, like every team has holes, but I guess it's by degree, right? It's sort of, it's not that you're not finishing, like if you're not finishing races because you just don't have people that can do movements, that becomes an issue, right? Like, and if that's happened, and it does happen when a new movement's brought in and people are like, oh, I couldn't do that, or I could do it in practice, but then I couldn't do it after having done a full day, maybe the day before or something like that. But it's if that becomes a repetitive thing of like, oh, we can't master this, then that's, I define that as like a hole versus obviously if we go up against Eric and Paolo, then they win in a Jack and Jill that's all body weight, and you're like, well, that's that's less of a big hole and more of a them just being ridiculous on the rings and stuff like that. So okay, all right, fair enough. One of the things the Breakers brought this year, we mentioned the suits, obviously for you and Matt. Two Matts, yeah, you and the other Matt, I should say. You also had a uniform change, and a uniform change and a uniform change. So that was interesting. What was the kind of thought process behind that? I've spoken to the players about it, and like how much we loved the white. Like that was unbelievable. But for you, what was kind of the the idea of, okay, we're gonna, was it just this is, we're making it's a new chapter, everything's new, or I don't know, you got bored of every team being in blue? What happened?
So it was a couple of things. We got feedback, right, from the athletes from the previous season, feedback from some of the athletes that we were talking to for the current season. So Billy was one of them, and she didn't like our uniform. She was like, "Yeah, I'm not a big fan of you guys' uniform. You guys need to change that." And that was one of the things. So last year, not last year, let me go back to 2024. One of the biggest things that happened for us, I'd say, is signing Josh Newell, right? He's become a really, really good friend of mine, and we talked. I feel sorry for Shay sometimes because we talked for hours and hours and hours throughout the 2024 season and the 2025 off season and 2025 season. And one of the things when we were talking, we talked about like, hey, how cool would it be to have an alternate jersey? And then he went on and created like 2 separate jerseys for us, right? A white one and a black one, and they were awesome. And so when it came down to us doing our rebranding, changing our logo, we wanted to change the color of our uniforms as well. And so we had to go through an approval process with the league on what we could do. And the white was at one point it was going to be a gray and like a light gray. And then when they did the final rendering, they were able to make it white, and we fell in love. We were like, that is it, 100%. And so we got really excited about that one. And the black was the alternate that we wanted to do. However, there's already a team that's in all black. And so we had to be strategic about when we were going to use that jersey as well, because we didn't want to have like the Lions versus the Breakers in the alternate uniforms. And so we're both wearing black uniforms. So we had to be strategic about when we were going to use that. So we plan to keep that going. And if we do continue it this year, we would change the alternate jersey color to something different.
Just so you don't have to worry if you're going against
that plus
the Wolves, they're kind of black as well now, aren't they?
Like a blackish gray, I think. And the bigger thing is that we also want it to pop for media, right? Because that's extremely important in our sport. And the white popped like crazy. And the black looks cool, but we need something that's going to pop. Like the Palms did a really good job on their alternates with the pink, and that was really cool. And so not to say we're going pink, but it popped, right?
Okay. I'm worried now. I am worried. Are you going to come in like a high-vis jacket, like some luminous yellow or something? And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yellow's already taken.
I mean, yellow's taken. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know. Like traffic cone orange. There you go. Like that kind of little sirens on your shoulders that flash. I don't know. I'm worried, but no, the white was impactful when you came out on that. The black looked cool. I mean, that's sports here in the UK, that's very common that you've got, and I'm assuming it's the same in America. I don't really follow any sports, to be honest, but a lot of these team sports, they have to have the alternate uniform that usually, like they call it the away kit usually. So it's like when they're at home, they wear theirs, and when they go away, they wear the other one. But it also is depending on who they're playing. And if like they're playing another team that's wearing blue and they wear blue, they've got to wear their second. Some even have a third kit just for that. But part of me thinks they've got free kits because they're selling replicas to the fans, and it's just another revenue stream.
So in the States, the team that has done that the most when it comes down to like alternate jerseys or just all different jerseys is Oregon. It's a college football team, but they're a Nike branded team. Nike is based out of Oregon, so like they have that huge connection there. So like they have, I don't know the exact number now, but I know back in the day it was like over 200 and something combinations between their jerseys, their pants, their helmets, and their shoes that they could wear. And now I'm sure they've probably gone up to 300 and something because they keep on making different renditions. We're not there, right?
No, please don't go there, please, Matt. I can't.
Huh?
Don't go there, please. I can't deal with that.
We're just 2 is good enough for us.
The left sock has to be this color, and then the left shoe is this one, and then the right sock, and then What about so one of the things that gets brought up a lot when I talk with teams about uniforms is the shorts. That are we going to hear any change in that? Are you going to actually get like your team color shorts now, or is that still going to have to be the standard issue sort of?
It hasn't. So we haven't discussed that as a league in terms of which direction the league is going on that yet. My feeling and my assumption is that it's still going to be a standard piece that we continue to use. And then people that have a legitimate need to have an alternate, they have to pitch their case to the league to explain that. But we do need to continue to have consistency there, right? And that's extremely important for us. That's extremely important for like the just the presence of the sport in general, right? As we continue to grow and make this thing even bigger, like we have to have continuity there. And one of the things, like, so back in the day, in the early stages of the United Grid League, we did have team specific shorts. Right. I believe they were all the same color, base color. And I think there might have been a little, like, maybe there was a patch for the team or something like that actually, I know there was a patch for the team on the shorts. And then there was, there was a patch for the teams. And then there might've been a stripe down that matched with their jersey color or something like that. And so they used to do a whole jersey and shorts. And then we separated the bottoms and did a partnership with that. But so I think that's going to continue.
Yeah, so you won't be able to see this because the comments don't pop up on here from Instagram, but Kristen Bonito said we can barely get everyone to bring their one version to matches. So the idea that people are bringing multiple alternates, I think she's worried about.
I'm not going to lie, the alternate jersey, thankfully, it got delivered to where we were going to be at for that weekend, so I didn't have to worry about people personally bringing them. Otherwise, I would have been a nervous wreck that whole week.
Yeah, because what if one person, like everyone's wearing black, and then one person's got their white jersey because they couldn't?
Would not have worked.
No, and then you get told they can't play, and then you're like, well, we really need them to play. Sorry, they can't play. So you talked about it growing. I kind of want to maybe finish up with this then, because one of the things that's been very noticeable over the last couple of years is all the team. I'm going to say all the teams have really pushed in this regard, I think, and they all seem more professional when you look at their social media, when you're looking at the partnerships they're forming with sponsors, when you're looking at kind of what they're doing. And obviously the Breakers is no exception to this. How has that been for you? Like that kind of journey of making the team seem A, more professional, than B, something that, brands and sponsors can get behind, because you kind of think like, when you sponsor an athlete, you get that athlete and there'll be a few of it. When you sponsor a team and you've got a team of athletes that are going to be in different situations that can promote your brand, I mean, it feels like it should be something very appealing to the sponsors. But obviously, what's that journey been like of trying to convince people to part with their money to support a team in a sport that's still growing?
That's the fun part. What I'd say is that we've increased our sponsorship dollars, not just us individually as a team, but I'd say across the whole league, right? All the teams throughout the league, from where we were at in the past to where we're at now. And a lot of that has come from the league owners ideating, athletes coming up with great suggestions on what we could do to generate more value for our sponsors. And that's been huge. But it's nothing like, I'll tell you, at least for our team, we have the benefit of our athletes caring so much about this team that they're also helping us out and reaching out to sponsors or giving us like, hey, did you think about this company as a possibility? Like, let's reach out to them. And that's been huge for us. Right. And so what I've realized that the change has been instead of one person doing everything, at least again for us, it's been, we have 22 people between the 20 athletes on the team plus our leadership group, right, out there helping and facilitating and starting these conversations. And so it's been able to help us grow from, you know, a sponsorship dollar perspective, and even what we can deliver for value for them as well. Because again, like there's people on our team that are really great on social media, really great at editing videos and all that, and they'll step up to the plate and say, hey, I'll take care of this for the team. I'll help out however I can. And that's been huge for us.
Yeah. Okay. That was my question, because I think it's maybe last year that I noticed suddenly some of the teams, like their social media just changed overnight, and you were like, oh, this just doesn't look like, this isn't just one person now, kind of. Oh, I better post something about the team. And it, you know, there was like, you could see kind of the framework behind it of like, oh, this is, you know, you've deliberately done this kind of post because it's going to bring this kind of engagement, and you've done this because I want, you know, which is, I mean, at least the way I'm looking at it, but it's engaging, and it's getting people to comment on the post and to look at it, and, you know, and it's, you know, that ultimately when you are then approaching sponsors, like that's what they're looking at, right? Well, what's the number, you know, how many views are you getting on your reels? How many people are following your Instagram, how YouTube videos that you're putting out and stuff? Which and it is kind of, I guess, one of the things where each team that grows adds to those numbers, because then you crop up, you know, if it's a head to head, it's like, oh, now you're on their social media as well because you guys went head to head in this race, and now I'm going to click across, and it just sort of, it is very much the rising tide lifts all boats. But yeah,
we've been big just from an ownership group too.
Yeah.
The amount of just support that's happened through our ownership group has been insane too. And also the people that have come into the ownership organization, right? And so we've had so many people that have different strengths, and then within their strength, they're like, hey, let me help this league out because I have this strength in this area, and boom, I can help everybody else out in the organization that way. And so that's another one of the reasons why we've been able to look even more professional, is that everybody's using whatever resources they have to help each other out.
Yeah. I mean, it is really nice. It was really nice, sort of, even on the Friday when I turned up, and, you know, everyone's like assembling the grid and setting it all up, and you've got, you know, Bridie there, and Matt is there, and Mavers is there, and so you're like, well, you guys are, you know, also on different teams, but you're all pitching in to set up the grid to get it going, and then, you know, we're like tearing it down the next day as well, which was fun. But yeah, it's just, I mean, there's a really nice atmosphere between kind of the different, you know, all the different owners, the coaches of the different teams. You know, even though they're your opposition, it does have that kind of family feeling to it, where like, yeah, we're gonna fight, we're gonna go at it, but ultimately we're, you know, there's a lot of love for each other. And then within your team, you know, as I'm speaking to you, I thought it was really great to see during the actual championship match, like your team were all together, they were watching, they were cheering on the two teams that were, you know, that were racing. And I thought, I was like, they weren't, oh, you know, we're out now, we've been beaten, we're in a bad mood, we're going to go home kind of thing. They stayed around, they were cheering, they were having fun. And I thought, oh, that's just like, that's nice. It's really nice to see them sort of enjoying the experience, even though obviously in an ideal world, they'd have been in that race. That would have been, you know, the dream.
Well, I'm not going to lie. We were in our feelings for a little bit, right? But we did have a break in between. And so it gave us enough time to decompress from what did happen, and then go out there and enjoy the sport that we all love. And that's the thing that you see, is that all of these athletes are fans of this sport, you know? And so even when we're looking at our schedule for our match day, we're trying to figure out, okay, how much of the other matches are we actually going to be able to watch before like we have to go in and do ours, right? Like, are we the first match of the day? Are we the last match of the day? Like, what is it? I mean, shoot, if we're the first match of the day, we can watch everything, you know? And so that's something that we do pay attention to, because we're all fans of it and we all love it. And we like talking about how we can make, not only just our teams better, but making the whole league better too. So
nice. Okay, very good. What's your thoughts and feelings on Off the Grid, this mecca of grid training that is being assembled by Josh and Shay? And should we be expecting to see some team training? Everybody heading out to their place to make use of this new facility?
So I'll tell you this, that Muscle Shoals is definitely the Breakers' home away from home for the ones of us that don't live out there. And we've had nothing but great experiences being out there. It's funny that you even mentioned that. I sent an article into the group earlier today because it was talking about some development that's happening out in that area. And so it was partially real estate, partially like how do we tap into it as a team. But yeah, we will. I mean, there's no question about it. Like, we will definitely be back in Alabama. We're super stoked for Josh and Shay with everything that they've done with OTG. We're not surprised, I'll tell you that. Like, because knowing them, anything that they put their mind to, they are going to dominate, and you can already see that off the back. And so, like, not surprised at the outcome of what they've done so far. I'm excited for what Muscle Shoals is going to get by having those two as owners and coaches in that space out there. And yeah, the Breakers are 100% down to come in and support. And we already talked about that too. So you'll see us out there. There's no question about that.
Oh, maybe I need to start planning a trip. That's
come and visit.
Well, I mean, I've made it over once, which, actually, I feel a thank you for that as well, because I'm pretty sure you helped in a big way chipping in. So I did appreciate that. I'm interested. This is what I'm kind of waiting for, the information about the season to come out, so I can be like, where would be the best, use of my time to get out, and maybe when there's a double header and I can go out and actually get 2 days worth of matches, and that might be an idea. So
I'll tell you, schedule wise, it's going to be like the same time frame, most likely, like May to September, May to August. That will most likely end up happening. Right now, the specific dates and all that, and which ones are double headers and all that, like, that's the stuff that's going to get worked out. Like, it's going to be, no matter what, 9 teams, 10 teams, it's going to be like a scheduling. I do not envy Ruby and Mather for trying to figure out how they put that together, right? Because if you look at how our schedule is, when we have just 8 teams and we're trying to get all our matches in a day, like with all 8 teams, it's a lot. And so we gotta, they're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, as long as they don't make matches later, because already I'm up at like 1 a.m. watching the final match. So I really don't want them later in the day, because that's going to be a problem for me. So I'll give Ruby a call and just tell her, look,
we're capped out at how many we can have in a day, so it won't get later. So you don't have to worry about that part.
Wow. Yeah. Good. We better not. And I tell you what, now if they do it, I'm going to play them this. Like, Matt Hornaday assured me it would not happen. And look what you've done. You've lied to me. This and Mayhem joining the grid. These are the 2 takeaways I've had from my conversation with Matt Hornaday. Matt, it's been lovely chatting. I have got one question for you that I will ask as soon as we stop recording, because I need to ask you something. Right. So sorry, anybody that's listening and wants to hear that. I'm looking forward to these announcements that are coming shortly to see which athletes I recognize, which ones surprise me, and also now speculation on what's going to replace the black jersey. So that's exciting as well. Thank you everyone for watching. Though I've seen people like pop on and off of the Instagram thing. I don't know about the Instagram thing. I don't like it very much, but it costs me nothing to stream it there as well. So why not? Let's do it. Excellent. Thank you, Matt, for making yourself available. All the best to the Breakers in their 2026 season. It feels like it's soon, but I know it's still a ways away. But it feels like we'll be kicking off any day now.
Right around the corner. It's coming.
Normally, I would announce who I've got on next week. I'm not sure what's happening next week, because I will be traveling to Italy on Thursday for the full series in Milan. So I probably won't do a show in between now and then, because I need to prepare for that. But that's going to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Milan. So if you're following my socials, you'll probably see lots of fitness, not by me, but by other people, fitter people than me. So that's more enjoyable for you. So just keep your eyes out for that. Once again, big thank you to Matt, and let's